Welcome to the deep dive. For most of us, artificial intelligence is, well, it's something we hear about mostly in terms of investment or maybe a new feature on our phone.
Yeah.
But the sources we've been looking at today, they suggest that viewing AI as just a product or even an industry is really missing the bigger picture.
That's absolutely right. The core argument here is that AI isn't just another piece of technology. It's an enabler. It cuts across everything: science, defense, our culture, politics.
Everything.
And this transition, the research suggests it's a shift comparable to something we haven't seen since the dawn of the modern age. It's fundamentally altering how we experience reality itself.
That is a huge claim, and you can see the proof in the money, right? The global financial commitment here is
Oh,
staggering.
absolutely.
Just back in 2020, you had American AI startups raising nearly $38 billion.
30 billion, and that's just the US. In Asia, it was 25 billion.
With Europe at around $8 billion. So this isn't some marginal tech trend. This is a full-blown global race to, redefine what's next.
Exactly. But, our mission today is to get past those headlines, to go deeper than the tech hype.
Right.
We want to pull out the most surprising facts and really the philosophical side of this shift for you. We're going to focus on three things. First, how AI actually perceives reality, which is different from us.
Okay.
Second, how it's shaping our society through these huge network platforms we all use. And finally, the really profound challenges it's posing to global security and even our identity.
So let's jump right in with that first point because it's fascinating. This idea that AI accesses reality differently, maybe even beyond our own perception.
Right. And when we talk about modern AI, we're mostly talking about systems that use machine learning or ML.
Specifically deep neural networks.
Exactly. And just to clarify for anyone who isn't deep in this stuff, older programs, they just followed rules coded by humans. If this happens, then do that.
Very rigid.
Very. But these modern systems are deep because they have all these layers of processing. They can learn, they can evolve from massive amounts of data, and while they can surprise us, they're not stuck with human rules anymore.
And that ability to develop its own logic is the real breakthrough. I think the perfect example of that in action has to be the chess master, AlphaZero.
Oh yeah, from Google DeepMind. This was back in 2017, 2018.
And it went up against Stockfish, which everyone thought was the absolute peak of chess AI.
Right, because Stockfish was basically a giant library of human chess knowledge. Millions and millions of expert moves, all cataloged by humans.
But here's the twist, and this is what's so mind-bending about the AI's logic. AlphaZero had zero pre-programmed strategy.
None. They just gave it the rules of chess and said, go play yourself until you figure out how to win.
And it trained for how long?
Just 4 hours.
4 hours. It's incredible. And the way it played after that, it was totally alien. It made moves that looked like mistakes to human grandmasters.
It would do things like sacrifice its own queen early in a game, a move that just seems terrible. But its logic was purely non-human. It was just assessing probabilities across a vast space of possibilities we can't even comprehend.
I remember Gary Kasparov said that chess has been shaken to its roots by AlphaZero. It wasn't just a better chess player. It found new truths about the game that we had missed for centuries.
It was a machine made of strategy. And this discovery of hidden truths, it's not just in games. Take the MIT discovery of halicin in 2020.
This was the new antibiotic, right?
Yeah.
Effective against some really nasty drug-resistant bacteria.
Exactly. And traditional drug R&D is, as you know, incredibly slow, incredibly expensive.
Prohibitively so.
So the researchers at MIT tried a shortcut. They trained a deep neural network on about 2,000 known molecules and their antibacterial properties.
Okay, so you learned what to look for.
Well, yes, but here's the crucial part. It began to identify molecular attributes that had totally eluded human categorization before. It was seeing patterns that biologists hadn't even defined as being important.
So it wasn't just speeding up our work. It was looking for things we didn't even know we should be looking for.
Precisely. And with that non-human insight, it scanned 61,000 molecules and flagged halicin.
Which was named after HAL from 2001, A Space Odyssey, which is very fitting.
Very. But here's the key takeaway. Even after they found it, the human researchers couldn't tell you exactly why it worked. The AI had picked up on aspects of molecular reality that we just don't perceive.
Wait, hold on. If they can't articulate why it works, doesn't that create a kind of dependency? What if something goes wrong? We can't reverse engineer its thought process.
That is the central tension we're now living with. We're deferring to a superior logic to solve huge problems, but we're giving up a bit of our own comprehension in the process.
We see that same kind of complexity with generative models too, like GPT-3.
Right, which can write essays and code that feel astonishingly human because it's been trained on, basically the entire internet.
And there was that simulated response it gave to philosophers.
Yeah, it said something like, I understand anything, but in the same breath it said, I do not have a conscience or any sense of morality. It knows what it is. It's a language model. It reflects our intelligence, but it doesn't have our reason or our feelings.
And that idea, reflecting intelligence without possessing reason, that takes us straight into our second section.
Yeah.
This huge philosophical challenge to human reason itself.
It really is a challenge to our identity. For centuries, going all the way back to the Enlightenment, our whole sense of self was built on the reasoning mind.
Cogito ergo sum.
I thought
Therefore I am.
exactly.
Yeah.
Our ability to reason was what made us special, what put us at the center of history.
But now we have these machines that can match or even beat us in these very complex tasks.
And that forces us to ask if our reason is truly as unique as we thought. It kind of pushes us back to someone like Immanuel Kant.
Okay, so how does Kant fit into this?
Well, Kant argued that we never experience objective reality directly, the thing in itself, as he called it. Our reality is always filtered through the structure of our human minds.
Like how our eyes only see the visible light spectrum. Infrared exists, but we're not built to see it.
Precisely. And AI is like a new set of eyes. It's a new cognitive filter that can see those infrared truths, whether it's the winning move in chess or a hidden property in a molecule.
So AI forces us to confront the possibility that there's a logic out there, a form of reason, that accesses parts of reality we may never know directly.
Yes, it's a philosophical confrontation, and that has massive implications for how we make decisions.
So what does this new decision-making paradigm look like?
It means we're moving into an era with three ways to decide. Just humans, which we're used to, just machines, on fixed programs, which we're getting used to,
And the third?
and the third, which is totally new, collaboration between humans and machines. This is where we stop using them as tools and start treating them as partners.
And that means giving them ambiguous goals like find the best route or make this more efficient, and then trusting their conclusions, even if we can't follow their logic all the way through.
And that's happening everywhere now, which brings us to these giant network platforms. AI is already a permanent companion for us.
It's completely embedded in social media, search, maps, everything.
And it has to be, because these platforms run on what's called a positive network effect. The more people use them, the more valuable they become. And only AI can manage that scale.
The navigation app is a perfect example. A human can't possibly calculate traffic, accidents, weather, and everyone else's routes all at once to find the fastest way.
No chance. The AI does it instantly. But there's a downside to all this wonderful personalization.
The echo chamber.
The echo chamber effect, right. The algorithm learns what you like, what you click on, and it just gives you more of that. It amplifies some things and completely hides others.
So while it's personalizing your reality to keep you engaged, it's also, by definition, distorting your view of a shared, objective reality.
And if that goes unchecked, the sources we read argue you could end up with entire groups of people living in totally different, algorithmically curated realities. And this spills directly into geopolitics.
Because these platforms are global. I mean, look at TikTok.
The perfect example. Developed in China, but its recommendation AI has a massive global reach, and it started affecting national security discussions everywhere.
The tension was all about that algorithm, wasn't it? The
Yeah.
potential for it to be used for data collection, for censorship, for pushing disinformation.
Which is why you saw governments in India and the US threaten to ban it or force a sale. And then Beijing turned around and declared that core recommendation code a strategic national asset. They forbid its export.
Which makes it crystal clear. The AI at the heart of a social media app is now a tool of international strategy. It can shape political outcomes across borders, even if that wasn't the original intention.
It absolutely is. Platform control powered by AI is a new pillar in the global power structure.
And that brings us to our last and maybe most urgent section, strategic security and autonomous systems. The material we read says AI adds this extraordinary new layer of complexity to a world already struggling with nuclear and cyber weapons.
Yeah, the unique danger with AI comes from a combination of three things. First, its dual-use civilian research can become a military application overnight.
Second, it spreads easily. It's just code.
And third, it has huge destructive potential. That mix is a recipe for instability.
And then you have the speed problem. AI operates faster than human thought. I saw the U.S. Air Force used an AI called Zero, based on Alpha Zero, to autonomously run the radar on a U-2 spy plane.
Right, and that delegation, even for a non-lethal system, raises huge questions about control. But the most destabilizing application of all is lethal autonomous weapons systems. Laws.
So, systems that can select and engage targets without a human in the loop.
Without any final human sign-off. And here is the core dilemma. Imagine an AI tells a military commander that sacrificing, say, one unit will save 10 others based on calculations no human could ever perform.
On what basis do you override that? If you trust its logic is superior, then ignoring its advice could be the objectively worst decision.
Exactly. And that uncertainty, the fear that overriding the machine is the wrong move, that's what makes these systems so dangerous. It opens the door to accidents, to unintended escalation from what's called algorithmic failure.
But we should define that. It's not just a bug in the code. It's when the AI reaches a perfectly rational, optimal conclusion based on its data. But that conclusion, when applied to the real world at machine speed, is a total disaster. And it happens before any human can step in.
It's the ultimate race against the clock. And this is why we desperately need an arms control framework. We spent decades building one for nuclear weapons. For AI and cyber, we have nothing.
So the sources are pretty clear. Major powers like the US and China have to start talking. They need to set limits, to build guardrails.
We have to define an ethic for this new age. So, what does all of this mean for us, for humanity?
The best parallel the material offered was the printing revolution in the 15th century.
Yeah.
Before the printing press, knowledge was controlled, it was scarce.
And then books became widely available, and that completely transformed society. It led to new philosophies, new political structures like democracy, the scientific method.
And AI is poised to do the same, but by transforming how reality is known in the first place. So we have to make choices.
We have to decide where to confine AI, where to partner with it, and where we should just defer to it.
So defer to it for diagnosing cancer, where it's already better than humans. Partner with it in something complex like a self-driving car.
But confine it. Keep the ultimate control with humans when it comes to lethal decisions.
Those choices really will define our future. It brings us all the way back to the start, back to Kant. He said that reason is burdened with questions it can't answer.
And AI might help us make progress on some of those questions, but it might also just reveal how much of reality is truly beyond our ability to ever grasp.
So the final challenge, the final thought, is whether the ethic we need to guide this new age can be built by humans, who are themselves being assisted by AIs that see the world in a fundamentally different way.
Will our destiny be to finally achieve full understanding? Or will it be something else? Will it be to just make peace with these machines whose logic is brilliant and optimal, but ultimately might always remain just beyond our reach? That's the question we now have to answer.